Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to this edition of Creating the Future with me, Dr. Brent Simpson, where we dive into stories and truths and deep questions that help us shape our faith, our families, and then ultimately our future. So we are in this fun summertime series right now where we are getting to meet different ones of our pastors here at Arise. These people you see on stage or in passing, but you may not know their full testimony, who they are, how they grew up, how they ended up at Arise, and all those kind of things. So we're having a lot of fun as we kind of sit down with our pastors and learn who they are and how they ended up here at Arise. And today we have the amazing Pastor Jason Vega with us. Welcome, Pastor Jason.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so Pastor Jason is our worship pastor here at Arise. And so you will see him at all the locations, but primarily Brandon Sunday morning is the most normal. But if you're at a fire night or whatever, you'll see Pastor Jason at those kind of things. And so you've probably had those questions of like, who is this guy? Where is he? Where does he come from? How did he end up at Arise? And so let's dive into all those. But let's start out with a fun one right off the bat. What's your favorite worship song of all time? Like if you got to put it on playlist, repeat, of all time, right? Are we going back to like open the eyes in my heart?
That's right.
Right. What are we doing, Jason?
Oh my goodness. All right. So I would say I have two categories, right?
Okay.
I would say one that just magnifies the Lord, right? Would be something as simple as holy. Agnus Dei is what you would call it.
Okay.
That's my clutch song. That's what I go to. Is actually when I'm leading worship, even today. That's where I revert to every time I'm feeling that we just kind of have to look at Jesus. So that's my favorite song.
All right, so just to pause real fast, because people might not know it by the name Agnus Dei or Holy, because there's a million songs with Holy in it. So that would be Alleluia,
Yeah, that's
the
right.
Lord God Almighty
That's right.
reigns. Okay, so we're clear.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's one. Another song, my favorite is it's an oldie, but "I Surrender" by Hillsong. Anytime I need to have a moment of just surrendering my heart, a moment of repentance, if you will, that's the favorite go-to
Is that
song.
the
there.
I surrender,
Yeah.
I want to know you more?
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I love that. Those are great songs.
yeah,
Great
those
songs. Okay, tell me about your childhood. How did you grow up? Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like? Who is little Jason?
All right. Well, man, I was born in New York. I was born in the Bronx, New York.
Of course, like everybody else.
Right?
Yeah.
I was born in New York, and I came to Florida when I was about, let's say, 4 to 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I was raised in a Christian home. My parents served the Lord, was always in ministry. So all I knew was church. Pretty much growing up, I was one of those kids that played with cars on the pews and.
Yeah.
But just my childhood was fun. I would say growing up, I had my parents were working and my father, just a normal household, you would say. But church was a big deal.
So you were raised here.
Yeah.
Where did you go to high school? And because high school was here, right?
Yeah. High school was Bloomingdale.
So you went to Bloomingdale. So you're a Bull, right?
Yeah.
Bloomingdale Bull,
Yeah.
right? All right. So and then you have like 600 brothers and sisters or something like that. What is it? What's the number?
I don't know what the number is, but I think I have 600 cousins.
Okay.
But for the most part,
Because just real fast, because this is a joke that comes up all the time. Because if there's a Spanish guy in this region, he's related to Pastor Jason somehow. So what is it like? Your parents have a whole bunch of brothers and sisters,
Right.
and you end up with all these cousins.
Yeah, so my dad and my mom both had a lot of siblings. I don't have the numbers correctly, but I think my dad had like 9. It was 9 of them, I think.
Okay.
And then my mom, maybe 7 or 8. I just don't remember off the top.
Yeah.
But then they had kids, and then their kids had kids, and then it just expanded, and then, and then people, it's just the way it is.
So there's a joke, running joke around the office. So there's a Spanish person in this region, especially if he's in ministry, because it feels like all of your family's in ministry.
Yeah.
If there's a Spanish guy in this region in ministry, he's somehow related to Jason. So, all right. So let's go to your teenage years. Who was Pastor Jason as a teenager? What were you like?
Man, I would say I was involved in I was involved in church. We had ministries like War Rangers at the time. And so that time for me was always fun. Outside of church, I would say I like to go outside. I like to play sports. I was always involved in.
What did you play?
Some sort of I did baseball, a little bit of basketball, football. I liked being active when I was younger. We used to, back in those days, right? Technology is not where it's at today.
Right.
You were forced to,
Yeah.
And so I loved it. I enjoyed it. That was my go-to is being outside until the sun went down type of deal,
Yeah.
Yeah.
For clarity, just because you just said back in those days, how old are you?
I am 43.
Okay.
Yeah.
43 years old. So you've grown up. And I've heard this about you from your own self. So you were the teenager that had the big speakers and subs in the back of your car,
Yeah.
like vibrating the whole neighborhood. Was that you? I got that right?
Yeah, that was me. I had an interest. I love music and I love to hear it really loud. As you can tell sometimes. And so, yeah, I had the 2 big 12s in the back of the car. And,
Okay.
you know.
You're like rattling.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Number 3 on the question list. Now, how and when did you give your life to Christ?
Yeah. So this question is interesting because I grew up in a church where I grew up in church, right? I would say I would even question whether my mom had me in a pew, honestly, because that's where I landed. But I think it wasn't until I reached right before teenage years. I would say around 12 is when I got baptized. And from there is when I started to encounter the Lord in a deeper way. Now it wasn't just me tagging along with family. It was me actually experiencing for myself, right? This God that I've been hearing about all. And so it just kind of led me into that time, led me to the decision of actually making a decision for myself. So it could have been in one of those prayer nights that was just one of those, great move of God, right? Revival type of nights where I just said, Lord, I surrender myself. So it happened around the time when I got baptized, which is 12.
Yeah.
And then from there, just continue on.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. All right. So now you give your life to Christ, and at some point you feel called into ministry. What was that like for you?
Man, being called into ministry was a humbling experience from the very beginning. I honestly, throughout my journey with the Lord, I would say there were moments where the Lord not only spoke to me about what He wanted me to step into, but also there was a lot of prophetic words spoken over me. And being called into ministry, like I knew there was always a calling. Of course, we have our plans, and we're like, okay, well, this is what I want to do, right? But it wasn't until later on where I actually got serious about it,
Right.
Yeah, and I've been told that I've been called into ministry all throughout my teenage life, pretty much. Yeah.
Because you were, as I understand it, I think you were doing ministry in church from the time you were young too. Because you were playing in the band. You played multiple instruments. People probably only ever see you play the keys, but you also play the drums. You play the guitar a little bit.
Yeah.
You could jump on the bass if you needed to, probably. But you were like playing in the church when you were young, right?
Right. Yeah. It started off in the Spanish church. There are instruments galore on stage. You have cowbells, you have percussion all over. So I started off with the cowbell, actually.
More cowbell. I got a fever. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. And then from there, just kind of evolved to picking up other instruments, and it really helped learning percussion first. But it's been always fun.
So all those years to now, how many years have you been in ministry, would you say?
Wow, man. I would say since I was 12. So
a few years.
What is it? Yeah, 31 maybe years or so. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. Yeah. What surprised you most about being in ministry?
Wow. What surprised me most about being in ministry? So for me, there was a difference. I spent a lot of years as a volunteer serving, right? Like many of our folks.
And then like bivocational. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And then stepped into a full-time. When I stepped into full-time, what surprised me about it is I did not realize that it wasn't a 9-to-5 type of situation. I know you
never punch out. You never.
Yeah, right. I know. Not that there's no boundaries set. Of course there are boundaries, but what I mean by that is that you tend to learn stepping into ministry. There are some freedoms that you are giving up. And I think it's a cost that's worth paying because the rewards are heavenly rewards, and we see what God does. And so there are some things about that I thought were surprising when I stepped into ministry full time. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. What's one moment you'll never forget in ministry since you've started?
Wow. Man, I've had many, many moments of ministry where there's no words to describe. I would say one that sticks out, I'm gonna give you a little bit of backing before I say it because it led to it.
Right.
So long story short, I have a good friend of mine, a family member, of course, of mine who went to go study at another state. And so he went to go study at a ministry, and he went to school. And so I went to go visit him with my wife. And we went to a gathering that they had, and there was a prayer room place where they had. So I just went and I said, hey, let's just go check this out. So as soon as I went inside this place. I literally took my jacket off, and suddenly I felt this like weight that came over me.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I hope you are enjoying today's show, but let me take a quick time out to remind you to like and subscribe. It helps us get this content out to so many more people, as well as do me a favor and leave a comment. I always enjoy reading your comments every single week. Now, let's jump right back into this great conversation.
This weight of God's presence. I can't describe it more than that.
The weight of glory.
Yeah, and it literally had me pushed down to the floor. Now, we were sitting in a row, one of the rows, and so I was down there. Anyway, long story short, the Lord encountered me there. I believe the Lord did something. I was weeping. I felt like the Lord was just regenerating me. Like I caught something there. And I know in ministry we always say that some things can be taught, but other things can be caught, right? And so that was one of the catching moments. Like, I feel like I caught something. And then that experience led to, then afterwards, obviously, I went back home, and I was a part of a Spanish church. I was playing keyboard. I wasn't really leading worship, singing wise, but I was a musician more than anything. And it was now to answer your question, it was a one prayer night. It was a Thursday night prayer, I remember. And there was this lady that needed somebody to play keys. So I said, yes, I'll be there. It wasn't a youth thing. I was young, but it was mostly adults. But I was like, I was so hungry because something happened in that moment that I wanted to be at church no matter what. Yeah. So I came to church, and I remember this moment because this is where God just taught me something really, really awesome. And as soon as I began to play, right, that prayer service turned into a almost like a revival service. Now, mind you, it wasn't the way I was playing, right? It wasn't the style. It wasn't what I did. There was something that was released to the room, and to the point where, and this is all for God's glory, I remember people running in that were outside. We had an ushers parking team, people that felt something, even in the parking lot. They ran inside. People were throwing themselves on the altar and just encountered, like, the Spirit of God just breathed to the point where the lady couldn't even continue. And one of the pastors that tried to transition us out of worship into the Bible study, he would pick up the mic and like put it down, pick it up and put it down. And he just rested on and he just couldn't. It was and the thing is, it was simple, no busyness, just
I love that.
God's resting. So I believe that like a lot of what I caught from that experience, actually, I was able to release here back home. You know what I mean?
I love that. That's so good. Yeah. That's so good. And that's so much of who we are here at Arise, and it's so much of who you are. I mean, just your heart for true, genuine, authentic, real worship without necessarily the hype or anything. Just the true presence of God is what you carry, which is so beautiful. All right, so you served in ministry, multiple places, Spanish church. You served with your brother up in Gainesville for a while. Then you end up here at Arise. How did you end up at Arise? Well, first of all, how long have you been here?
I've been here for 8.5 years.
Okay, so
as staff, but I walked in the building 9 years ago.
Yeah, so 8.5 years you've been on staff. So how did you end up at Arise on staff?
Man, what's funny is that before the Lord called us to another city to go serve in ministry, I had finished Bible school, and you, Pastor Brent, actually taught one of the classes.
I'm one of the professors.
That's right.
A long time ago. I don't know what I was teaching back then. I don't know what I knew back then. But
I think I remember it was Christ in the Synoptic Gospels. It was such a good course. You brought a class, and from there, right, I met you, but nothing. We didn't exchange numbers, nothing like that. That was a pivotal moment in my life, and even in my mom's and my sister's life, because everybody was like transitioning from the church that we were in. I was leaving to another city, and my mom was transitioning and wanting to find another place to worship. And so I told her, without even knowing anything about Arise, I'm like, you know what? I had this teacher, and I really liked them. And I'm like, you know what? You should go check it. It's Arise Church. I haven't been there, so forgive me if you show up and it's crazy.
And back then, it might have been Brandon Assembly of God.
It probably was
for your mom.
It probably was, yeah. So and it was local. It was 4 minutes from them. So they're like, you know what? I'll check it out. And from that first moment, as I left to another city, they just continued, and they were here that whole entire time. So I was in that city for 3 years. Yeah. So they remained, and so. Catching up to now, 3 years later, I come back to this area. My wife and I have like a list of churches. Hey, we're going to go visit this church, this church, this church. And so we had a plan. We're like, let's go. And then there was a kids crusade. We call it today Kids Week.
Yeah.
But a good friend of mine, Pastor Josh Cunningham, he was putting together Kids Crusade. It was the Despicable Me theme one. And it was called Disciple Me. Very creative. So I brought my kids to it. It wasn't even a service that I came to first. It was a kids week. And I was blown away. Like I didn't just drop my kids off and leave. I said, man, let me check this out. And I stood in the back and I was just blown away. I felt God's presence in a kid program, which was like, which I know God moves in kids, but like, you know what I mean? And then from there I'm like, huh. And then after that, I went to a service, and God's presence was the only validation I needed, honestly. And I just started weeping during worship. There was amazing worship happening. And I knew then, I'm like, you know what? There's no need to jump around, you know. God's presence was enough. That's the only validation I needed. And so that's how I came to Arise. You know?
That's awesome. And then, so you came to Rise. And then a fun fact about Pastor Jason is that you actually started as our youth pastor for a short season. How long was that?
Yeah, it was almost a year. I was about a year of being a youth pastor.
Yeah, you were a youth pastor for about a year, and then you moved over to being the worship pastor as our worship pastor was leaving at the time.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so awesome. All right, so what do you love most about serving at Arise?
Oh man, what do I love most? I love many things. I would say the culture of Arise. I love the people, right? We make up Arise, right? Arise is not made up. It's not on paper. It's through people. And so I just love the culture. I love how we, honestly, we have a value system here, but one of the most important ones is we value God's presence. It's the most important.
The most important,
right? And so I love that. That's what we value most, and that's what keeps me locked in. That's what keeps me, you know, on the right track, even in my own walk with the Lord, because it teaches me that this is not just for church. This is for daily lifestyle. Like we should value His presence. So I would say that's the best I love.
Yeah, and I love that because you carry that value, and maybe more than anybody else because of worship being so important to that value, mixed with the modern sensation of worship getting overhyped, a little bit too much lighting, a little bit too much of all the other stuff, which becomes a distraction. It's not inherently wrong by any means, but it can distract from the true, authentic presence of God. And I love that about you. It's what you carry so well. So if you could sit down with somebody, you're having coffee, you're hanging out with Pastor Jason, they're hanging out with Pastor Jason, and they walk away, what do you want them to know about you when they walk away?
Oh my goodness. That's a good question. Man, I would say I would want them to know my story. I want them to know that the reason why I'm serving as a pastor is not because I've had a good track record, you know. It's because it's the mercy and the grace of God that's been on my life. Yeah. If I were to tell you, if I were to receive what I deserve, being a pastor would be far from it, you know. And what I would want them to know is that what God can do in someone's life, God can do it in that person's life. And so there are many other things, fun things, maybe to know about me, maybe. But I would say that would be the only thing I want them to leave that conversation knowing. That it's God's mercy and grace that I'm able to even do this. It's such an honor. So,
So good. All right, one concluding question. Wrap it all up with a fun one. What's one thing most people don't know about you that would surprise them if they learned about you?
Oh gosh. All right. So I'm still growing in ministry. We all are, right? And so I feel like God puts you in places and gives you passions for things. As a teenager, I think one of the things that the Lord allowed for me to step into is actually, I was a part of a hip hop group. I used to rap. And, you know, it was me and my cousins, and a lot of my cousins took off on it. They just took it to another level. But I feel like that's one thing that nobody may not know is that I used to rap on stage.
So you got Rapper J. You got a rapper name or anything?
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is for you young people. This is what you would say cringe. My name was Centurion.
Okay. It's not that bad. Okay.
And we used to rap, and I'm telling you, we did back in the day there wasn't fine arts in the Assemblies of God. There was just talent show. It was a part of the camp, and so we did it. We did it there, and it just exploded. Like exploded in the sense that we just kept doing it afterwards, and it helped. That's awesome. It helped tear down levels of like timidity and speaking in front of people. Last thing I'll say is that I used to have a speech impediment. I used to stutter a lot when I was young. Okay. So I think that like the Lord allowed me to go through that to kind of tear down some things so that I can be able to you know communicate well. But I stuttered a lot as a young kid.
Okay.
So.
I didn't even know that about you.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna throw this in there because I think this is funny too. Because you also did like a mariachi band. It wasn't a
Oh
mariachi?
no. It was a
What was
salsa
it?
band.
Salsa band.
Yeah.
Okay, you were in a salsa band.
Yeah.
So you're in a rap. You're doing rap, but then you're doing salsa. And now you're doing worship.
Right.
You've been all over the place. You are
Oh my gosh.
very all over the
It's
place.
been fun.
Yeah. And here's a fun one. I'll throw this in. I haven't said this for other people or told stories, but this is a great one. Because when you first came to the church, your beard, not first came on staff, your beard was longer. You had those long dreads.
That's right.
And you kind of looked Middle Eastern, and we would always tease about that. And so we had gone, this is just for our audience. Nobody else even gets to hear this.
Yeah.
We had gone to, or y'all, I wasn't even there. Y'all had gone to bowling, is the story. And so Pastor Jason, what you might not realize is like he could be an impractical joker, like from the show.
Right.
Him and his buddies growing up, they did all kinds of jokes. And so they're bowling, and what it was one of our pastors at the time, we were hiring. A lot of times before we hire somebody, when they're interviewing, we'll send them with the staff just to get to know the other guys or whatever, other people on the staff, just to get to know them, see if they, connect and, all that, see if there's good chemistry just to work together. And so they went bowling, I guess. And you guys were bowling, and so somebody, I don't know who, maybe you can tell the story better than I can, but somebody this was Pastor Joshua Sanders, told Pastor Joshua that you were a Muslim who just got saved like a couple weeks ago. I think
Right.
a Muslim imam or something, he said. And you were a Muslim who just got saved a couple weeks ago, and now you're the worship leader.
Right.
And you just played right with it and started
stuck to
like
it.
talking.
Yeah, I stuck to the story. I told him it was hard for me to let go of that lifestyle, and I guess I looked like I could be in that religion, at that point. And oh man, and he believed it, and you can tell he was like, "What am I stepping into?"
Yeah.
Oh god.
So that's one thing you may not realize about Pastor
Yeah.
Jason. He is very much a practical joker, and that probably doesn't come across during worship that often. So, yeah. So, Jay, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for this. And I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed getting to know Pastor Jason a little bit better. So now when you're singing along in worship or praise, now you get to know who's leading that, and that's always beneficial. So if you made it this far, do me a favor, make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already done that. Leave a comment. Pastor Jason and I will certainly see them at some point and love to be able to see your comments. And there might be somebody you need to share this with, and so make sure you get to do that as well. Absolutely. And we look forward to seeing you again next week as we interview another one of our pastors. God bless you guys.
God bless you. Thank you.